am growing old. Not older. We're all doing that from the moment we are born. I am growing old. I am entering my third age. Do not patronise me by calling me middle-aged. I've given you my age. I am highly unlikely. Actually, I haven't yet. I didn't click the clicker. Yes, there are different downsides to ageing. I am not going to live to be 115. So I am growing old. I am past middle age. I'm way past middle age. So what? I have found that getting older, like every other stage in my life, brings with it gifts. Things I hadn't expected that are just fantastic. Here is the first. Let me tell you, if you are the unfortunate possessor of a pair of tits, they hurt for most of your life, from the age of 10 when you first start getting breasts. Am I right, ladies in the audience? There's that agony when you first hit your poor little nipples on the desk at school and you think, what the hell is going on? Well, it gets worse. Then they hurt for most of puberty as they get to their natural or unnatural size. Then usually mine were an unnatural size, given my height, it was a bit weird. And then you've got the premenstrual changes that happen every goddamn month. For about 2 weeks of every month, you understand why female joggers with tits do a lot of this. Pregnancy, they just hurt. And hurt and hurt and hurt. And breastfeeding, they hurt. Particularly when babies get teeth. All of the time, they hurt. Until menopause. And then magically, you can go over the biggest potholes in a really badly sprung car without wincing. Always. This was something I didn't know would happen, and I am so incredibly grateful for it. I am also incredibly grateful for this. On what level could this be seen as any kind of a disadvantage? Have you any idea how much headspace it clears up not to have to worry about your goddamn period every month? Every 28 days! I mean, you just take it in your stride. Women are incredible. Most of the time, nobody else knows you've got the damn thing, except when you do that thing of having the funny hand when you walk to the toilet. No funny hand. No asking your girlfriend, am I leaking? Can you see anything? Is it all right? White trousers, every day of the week. Every day of the month. Liberation doesn't get much more liberating than white trousers every day of the month. I can't get pregnant. Oh. For most of my sexually active life, and thank you, Bella, it does still continue. For most of my sexually active life, when I was fertile and got periods, I spent most of my time worrying about getting pregnant. Then for about 5 years, I spent most of my time worrying about not getting pregnant because I wanted to get pregnant. It is so ridiculous. When I didn't want to get pregnant, it felt incredibly easy to do. When I did want to get pregnant, nothing seemed harder. And the fear about contraception failing, because this myth that it doesn't is a myth, is white knuckle. I don't believe there's a woman in the audience that hasn't gone to the toilet when her period was due and looked desperately in the bowl for the telltale mark that said, phew, got away with it again. I am free of the male gaze. Sorry, guys, I know you thought that looking at my tits was the biggest compliment you could pay me. But actually, I never ever wanted to. I was tempted occasionally to do this. I'm up here. And it wasn't very high up, given how tall I am. But no, the gaze stayed there. There's a lovely story by Dale Spender, one of Australia's greatest feminists. There was a meeting she'd go to, and there was a man who sat opposite to her in this meeting. It was a regular meeting, and he'd always stare at her tits as he talked to her. And one day he asked her a question, and she just refused to answer, said nothing. And he repeated the question, and she went, wake up, he's talking to you. Now people listen to what I have to say. What is wrong with that? Nothing. It's fantastic. I am free of the female gaze. I don't care what you think about me anymore. As my skin has become saggier, baggier, stretched a bit in unfortunate places, but I don't care what you think of me, remember. I have grown more comfortable in it. I am much more able to be myself than I ever was when I was in that awful competitive thing where you look at everybody in the room and you think, am I prettier than her, or not quite as pretty, or am I uglier? Am I the fattest woman in the room? That's always the worst question to ask yourself. Now I often am. So what? I'll have another serve of anything fattening and, a glass of wine going past? Thanks, I'll take that one. Because who cares? No one's looking at me anymore. So I can be 100% myself. How wonderful is that? Look, they're lovely. They are. No, they are. You do love them. Along with Mia Freedman and Lisa Pryor recently, I and those two wonderful women have been designated the worst mothers in Australia by Mark Latham. And of course, he is the final judge of those things, apparently. And this is because I am open about the fact that whilst I'm really proud that I was a mother, I'm really pleased that I've done it. I learned so much from mothering. My kids taught me far more than I've ever taught them. But I'm over it. It's very hard work, and it's often very boring work. The number of times they say and do something that actually gives you pleasure is fairly rare. In comparison to the number of times you're doing things you never ever thought you would. And some of them are quite disgusting. But that's okay. They're 23, they're 26. I've done what I can. Now it's up to them. Love them dearly. Will help if they need it. Very much hope they don't need it. I am a member of the first generation of women, this was referred to earlier by the wonderful Circus, of women who have worked for most of their lives. Women over 50, now this is in the United States, but I'm sure it's, you could extrapolate down for Australia, control $19 trillion. We have become a market, and that is a power. That makes us no longer as invisible as perhaps we once were. We are, in fact, the healthiest, wealthiest, most active women in history. In the West, of course, I'm talking about. Fantastic. You know what's better? Those kids have moved out, they're earning their own money. You earn stuff, you know who you spend it on? Yourself. I haven't got grandchildren yet. I am looking forward to it, mainly because my friends who are grandparents say, you know what, they're lovely, but you can hand them back. But I'm not going to spend all my money on my grandchildren. That would be spoiling them. We need to build their character. But I've got enough character, so I can spoil myself. And I am. Yet, and this is my question, why does the world want me to hate and deny this stage of my life? Why am I expected to spend that money that I've spent a lifetime earning on trying to fight ageing? Why would I want to pretend that I am not my age? I have earned every bit of my age. I am proud of it. I see nothing wrong with being 57 and a half. It's very important, that half. You go back to being a 5-year-old, not just in the fact that your tits don't hurt. I am expected by many to at least consider risking my life, having cosmetic surgery, to chase some sort of fantasy idea of looking perpetually young. The trouble with people that I have seen who have had cosmetic surgery is they don't look young and they don't look particularly pretty. They tend to all look, after a while, like they're strangely related to one another. Have you noticed that? And the major message you get from it, anyone who's had a lot of plastic surgery, is you're rich and insecure, which is a sad message to be sending at this point in your life when, in fact, the loss of your physical beauty teaches you how to become much more aware of the other beauties that you have. That's what that loss does. It enables you to start to understand so much more what else you have to offer. So why would you want to hang on to the thing that blocked you from getting to that, or at least getting other people to understand that? And imagine how embarrassing, frankly, it would be at your funeral for them to say, well, Jane died of a tummy tuck. I mean, your kids would be quite entitled to get pretty shitty with you for dying for something like that. You know, I don't like that I've got this. Really, I don't. But I'm not going to get rid of it. There's a couple of reasons why. Well, first of all, I don't want to die. I don't like pain. I'm not nearly so interested in looking good as I am in feeling good. But also, I think I inherited this. This is genetic. Somewhere in my past, there is an ancestor who had this. And this is a little piece of that person that I'm carrying around with me. I like that idea. I'm going to embrace it. I'm expected to want to inject my face with toxins so I can start to look a bit like Tony Abbott, all shiny and stretched. Can't see the attraction in that. I don't know why. And this is the most interesting one. When I say something controversial or provocative on Twitter, now it rarely happens. But when I do, the insults that are thrown at me, the insults that are thrown at my younger feminist friends are often about how they want to rape them and do horrible things to them sexually. I don't get that. What I get is you're a bitter, twisted, old, ugly hag. You know, the young ones are still juicy enough to fantasise about, but the old ones, no, they can't even imagine it. I'm supposed to be offended by that? Are you kidding me? Why would I don't understand that. I am not hurt when you call me old. It is a statement of fact. It is a statement of fact, and that is fine by me. I want to see how my face is meant to turn out. I really am. I'm interested. It won't be pretty. But it will be real. And I'd rather look real, like my real self, than, I don't know, some sort of fantasy version. Have you seen people like Jane Fonda and Goldie Hawn and Meg Ryan? Well, Renee Zellweger was the latest one, wasn't she? You think, is that a Renee Zellweger impersonator? And that's what tends to happen. You don't look like you anymore. Why would you want to get further away from your face instead of more comfortable in it? Ageing is a valid stage in a whole life. It has things to teach us about letting go of things like vanity, like what other people think of us, like approval, like life. Because when you get older, it concentrates the mind. You realise how much shorter the time is that you have left. And that is wonderfully energising. That makes you move like nothing else. I believe that, contrary to conventional wisdom, ageing is easier on women than it is on men. First of these is, yes, as I get older, I get more aches and pains, but can I tell you, for the first time ever, they are equal opportunity aches and pains. Men get bad knees, lousy backs. What have I got? I've got a Morton's, what's it called? Neuroma. Oh, don't ask me what it is. It's very, very unpleasant. But men get them too. I'm sorry to be mean about it, but after all those decades of sore tits, periods, etc., 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 it's a pleasure. When my husband said my back hurts, I say, oh, really? How sad. But there's more to it than that. I'm seeing a lot of my male peers who are very powerful in their life, controlled businesses, were very successful. They were from that group which are considered by the world to automatically have merit, which many of the rest of us are not automatically assumed to have. But this group are, they're the white, male, often privately school-educated men. And, well, of course, they're male and men. That group are what's seen as the norm. They're allowed to be individuals. If they do something wrong, it's that individual has done it wrong. You know you're in a kind of minority group or a subordinate group when you do something wrong, see, women can't cut it. It's used as an example for the whole group. Women drivers, for example. Why does no one ever say men drivers? It is a term you never hear. So men find as they get older, I'm seeing this in my peers, that they suddenly go for the first time ever in their lives, particularly if they've been in that powerful group, to being a member of one of those groups. They go from being a man or their individual selves to being an old man. And it hits them like a ton of bricks. But for women it's much easier because we're really used to being irrelevant and a member of a group that no one paid much attention to all our lives. So we're not remotely concerned about being old women because it's not much different from being women, really. Notice with the drivers, it's an old driver is another way of identifying that they've become a member of a group, which means lost status. The human female, if you think getting old is a bad thing for women, the human female can live 3, maybe more, decades beyond her reproductive capacity. No other creature on the planet comes close. We are unique in the entire history of evolution in that female human beings can live so much beyond their reproductive life. This is extraordinary. We should be celebrating it. You are unique. This is our time. Amy Poehler said it brilliantly. Stop whining about getting old. It's a privilege. A lot of people who are dead wish they were still alive. Finally, feminism puts women at the centre of their own lives. And that's what getting old does too. All that stuff about your body no longer being captive to the reproductive cycle, you no longer being captive to anybody else's gaze and opinion. That's what feminism's about. It's about women putting themselves at the centre of their own lives. You only have limited time to do this, so make the most of it. Don't waste your time getting injections and having surgery and lamenting the loss of your youth and your beauty. Who gives a shit? It was pretty ordinary, really, if you think about it. It is literally your last chance to be exactly who you are and to find out who that is when you're stripped of all that cosmetic stuff that you present to the rest of the world. You're old, no one's interested, but you bloody well are. And that is fantastic. Please, whatever you do, don't waste it. Before I get off the stage, I just want to say one thing. I'd like to dedicate this talk to my friend Jeff Truman, who died very suddenly, aged 57, last Sunday. He made me think very hard about this talk and how important it is to know the only moment you've got is right now. And to get old, geez, you're lucky if you do. Thank you very much.